to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and we're getting closer and closer to episode 300 of the Free Kick Podcast. And yeah, I wanted to have something positive and not a negative intro, because there's going to be a lot of negativity this episode, and we'll try to find ways to find positives from the Philadelphia Union versus Orlando City game. But episode 296 now, 4 more episodes, and we'll be at episode 300. And been a long time coming, really long time coming. And I guess technically I'm already past 300 episodes if you want to count the United Soccer Coaches Convention episodes. But I don't know, I don't really count those because those are like bonus off-season episodes. And then of course I did the London Underground series that I re-uploaded from the old podcast, and so I don't count those episodes either. So specifically talking about Philadelphia Union, 4 more episodes away from 300. So it's been a long time coming, and I'm sure I'll share a lot more thoughts on that once we actually get to 300. But yeah, this Philadelphia Union versus Orlando City game, we're just going to go and talk about that. We'll go into 3 stars Blunder of the week. We're not even going to talk about news. I mean, I feel like there's been some news, not a ton of this week, and we'll save that for a later episode. So we'll obviously have the midweek episode of the New York City review episode. So that will come out Friday morning. It should, because I'll record that on Thursday night, and then, yeah, you guys will get that Friday morning. And then we have another game on a Saturday away at New England. So it's going to be a lot of pot the next couple of days. So should be good for all of you guys involved. Of course, articles and goals breakdown videos on YouTube as always. So always keeping it rolling, which I hate. I absolutely hate Wednesday games because it's like, damn, got so much more work to do. But you guys love it. You guys enjoy it. And I love making you guys happy. So that's what it's all about. But this Philadelphia Union versus Orlando City game, as we all know, Orlando City win 3-2. And hey, the Union actually didn't concede first. Who would have thought that the Union would actually score the first goal in this game? And it came courtesy of Mikel Uhr. Huge moment for him with Julian Kranza out on yellow card accumulation. And Jim Curtin was challenging Mikel all week, saying, hey, look, this is a big moment for you. This is a big spot. We need you to have a big performance. And it was a beautiful play from, a ball that was off of a set piece. Union kept the play alive. Jack McGlynn finds Nate Harriel. Nate Harriel finds a nice threaded pass into Mikel Uhr. And Mikel had a really, really slick finish there for the goal. But that's a positive, and we can talk about Nate's performance later on. We can talk about Mikel's performance later on, but you feel good. The Union score in the 12th minute. They don't concede, and you're like, okay, well, when the Union score first, that typically means they're not going to lose the game. And in the 21st minute, obviously, we get the Duncan Maguire goal. And then right before halftime, Luis Morial scores a goal. And then at the start of the second half, Morial scores once again. And yeah, it just wasn't a great night for the Union. And I mean, I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm just repeating myself after every single loss. And so thank goodness the Union don't concede first. You guys don't have to hear me complain about that again. I honestly don't know what to think. It's the first time that I've been around this team and seen them lose 3 straight league home games. They did that once in 2012. And I got to imagine most of you guys listening to the podcast weren't around back in the dark days of the Union. And so all we could do is just read about it and hear other fans' stories. But now we get to experience a dark moment. And it wasn't a good evening to see this team be so dominant for years and years and years at home, where they just don't lose at home. And now we've seen 3 losses already at Subaru Park in MLS play. And okay, you expect this team to get points every now and then on the road, but you expect an automatic 3 points. That's what you've come to expect the last few years. And the Union are struggling. They are struggling massively at home. It's concerning that this team doesn't look like the team they have the last couple of years at Subaru Park. Teams came into Subaru Park and talked about the hostile environment because of the fans, how it's a difficult place to play. And the Union only have 1 win in the league at home. They sit 1-3-1 at Subaru Park, have a better record, 2-0-4 on the road. I mean, it's crazy. We sit here on May 12th or May 13th is when I'm sure most of you guys are listening to this episode. And the Union only have 3 wins on the season, 3-5. And if you would have told us, yeah, those 3 losses would have been at Subaru Park, nobody would have believed you. I don't believe it. I mean, I'm shocked. And like I said, I mean, 3 straight home losses in league for the first time since 2012. I mean, that's really, really bad. And obviously, nobody on this current team was back on the team in 2012. Not even Jim Curtin was managing the team back then. And so this is the first time in his career that he's lost 3 straight league home games. And this is just new territory for this group, for this front office, for the coaching staff, for these players. And there's a lot of people. You know, Jim Curtin said after the game that, you know, they're trying to figure out what's going wrong. He doesn't have the answers right away, but, you know, this isn't normal. And losing your games at home, it's unacceptable. And I don't know. I mean, this was a horrible Orlando City team coming into Subaru Park. And you felt like, okay, this is going to be 3 points. This is going to be a guaranteed 3 points. But it was not. It wasn't at all. And one thing that I'm going to keep repeating that's going to be concerning is don't forget about these international tournaments in the summertime. Don't forget about them because the Union are going to struggle. They're going to struggle with missing Daniel Gazdag, Damion Lowe, Andre Blake, Jose Martinez, Jack McGlynn, Nate Harriel, possibly Quinn Sullivan to the Olympics. They are going to struggle without their key players here. And that's why it was so important and is so important that you get as many points, 3 points preferably, before players start to go away. And here's an update for people that are wondering, okay, where are these guys going to be playing on what date? Shout out to Jose Nunez for putting together this spreadsheet. He has it on Twitter if you guys want to see it. 6-4, Hungary versus Ireland. It's a friendly before the Euros. Daniel Gazdag, he'll be missing. Jamaica versus Dominican Republic, World Cup qualifiers. Andre Blake and Damion Lowe. 6-8, Hungary versus Israel. It's another friendly before the Euros. Gazdag, potentially Ty Baribo, missing from that. Then Jamaica versus Dominica, World Cup qualifiers. Again, Andre Blake and Damion Lowe missing. And then you have the June window, obviously, the Olympics, Copa America, and the Euros. It's going to be a busy time for the Union come the summertime. And here's the schedule, right? You guys weren't looking ahead. So before everybody goes away, the Union have New York City on Wednesday, May 15th. Then they are away at New England on Saturday, May 18th. Away at Charlotte, May 25th. And then home on a Wednesday against Toronto, May 29th. And then June 1st, Montreal. The Inter Miami game, players are going to be gone, June 15th. June 19th, Cincinnati, players are going to be gone. Charlotte at home, June 22nd, players are going to be gone. Montreal away, June 29th. Again, players are going to be gone. It's not it's not ideal that the Union have lost to Orlando City, Seattle, Real Salt Lake. You got a point in DC. All right, respectable. DC United, we saw last night, they came from behind and beat Atlanta United 3-2. And it's a very different DC United team than the ones that we've seen in the past. And so I think going and looking on paper, you will take that result. You would take that result down in DC, and you hope that the Union can get all 3 points this Wednesday against New York City. You hope that they can get 4 points out of their 2 away games to New England and Charlotte. Doesn't matter which one of those games you win them. If you can win them both, ideally, that would be perfect. I mean, looking at the standings, New England you would expect to be the game that the Union win, because New England sit in 15th place. Only 2 wins on the season, 8 losses, 1 draw. So you would expect the Union to go into New England and probably get all 3 points. But you could have said the same last night against Orlando City, that the Union should have got all 3 points against Orlando City, who coming into this match sat in 14th, only had 2 wins on the season. And you blow a big opportunity. Yeah, you're missing Andre Blake, you're missing Julian Kranza, big players, key players that you're missing. But you scored first. And Jim Curtin says it all the time. You know, there's a team that's built to play from the front, blah, 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 blah. Well, you score first, and you still wind up conceding goals. You concede 3 straight goals before you get your second one. And then later on, you get a penalty with Daniel Gazdag, who had his penalty saved by Pedro Gallese. So Daniel Gazdag scores the second goal of the match from the penalty spot, gets another penalty opportunity, and his attempt saved. His first miss from the penalty spot in MLS play. Yes, he's missed some penalty shootouts, but from the league itself, he's never missed until last night. And that tells you right there how bad Orlando City is. They scored 3 goals, yes, but they weren't great team goals, and we can talk about it here in a second. You know, they came from Union mistakes. Orlando City gives up 2 penalty kicks. They blow a 2-goal lead, or are about to blow a 2-goal lead, because they give up 2 penalty kicks, and then Daniel Gazdag has it saved. Giving up 3 goals at home, totally unacceptable. And, you know, you want to spin a positive, credit to this team for fighting back. They did fight back, had a chance to tie the game up late on, couldn't do it. And to Pedro Gallese's credit, saves Daniel Gazdag. But, again, going back to my point, with just all these players that are going to be missing because of qualifiers, because of the Euros, because of Copa America, because of the Olympics. This is very, very, very concerning that the Union, and Daniel Gazdag said it a couple games ago, that, hey, look, we believe that we're going to pick up points at home. And they haven't done that. They haven't done that. When you look at the Union in the last 4 games, they're 0-3-1. And they're in terrible form. There's no denying that. And what makes this all so confusing is the Union have scored in all 11 of their games so far this season. The only MLS team to do so. And so you're getting your goals, but you're also continuing to concede goals. And I asked Jim Curtin on Friday before this match about the Union scoring coming into the game in 10 straight games, the only team in MLS to do that. Something that's been pretty uncharacteristic of this group, because as Jim Curtin has said the last couple years, and the data backs it up, by the way, the last thing to get clicking is the offense. You know, you get the defense in line, in check right away, and then take some time for the offense to build up. But the offense has scored now in 11 straight games. The defense continues to concede. It's been the complete opposite. And it's just so mind-boggling to me that, yeah, the Union are conceding just so many goals. And there's so many uncharacteristic goals. But then on the other side, they're scoring goals for fun. Reminds me a little bit of the Liverpool teams from back in 2013, 2014, I want to say it was, where Liverpool was winning games 4-3 because they had no defense whatsoever. And so they had to just score 3-4 goals a game to win games. And yeah, we're getting the Union scoring multiple goals a game, but the problem is they're giving up more. And so I asked Jim Curtin that question, and this is what he had to say on Friday.
Yeah, I think in the Eastern Conference, only outside of what Messi and Miami are doing in the East anyway, we're towards the top in goals scored, which is a good thing because the hardest thing to do in the sport is score goals. We need to fix the defensive side, and I will say it's as simple as the consistency of the back line and the goalkeeper, has changed a lot this year for a lot of different reasons. And I have full confidence once we get, the group fully back and everybody playing at their max at the same time, we'll be a team that'll, start to get those clean sheets and with that come points. So you're right. The goals are coming, which is good. Like I said, we've scored some really, really good goals. Also strange too, and we brought this up with the amount of, watching the Champions League games and the margins of the VAR calls and the offsides. Strangely, there have been, I feel like, just Danny Gazdag alone, 15 calls this year where some have gone for us for goals, some have gone against us. Flags are up, flags are down. It really, the margins are razor thin. So we've scored a lot of goals, that have been called back that have been inches. So that part is good. But now we have to, as a team, tighten up the defensive side, which has really been our trademark over the last 5 seasons.
And Jim always says that the defense starts with the front two, the 2 strikers, and then it just is a trickle effect from those 2 all the way back to the defense. But there is something that he said, though, that I want to highlight, that I want to point out. He talked about the consistency, and something that hasn't been consistent this season is the defense. And whether that be because of injuries, whether that be because of form, what have it. There's been 7 different pairings in the back line now this season. You've had the partnership, we saw it last night, of Wagner, Lowe, Glesnes, and Harriel. Prior to this game, that had been done 3 times the most. Now it's been done 4 times. The Union, prior to the game, had drawn all 3 of those games. 2-2 draws across the board. Second most used pairing was Wagner, Elliott, Glesnes, Harriel, who, in my opinion, I think that's the best defensive pairing you have right there. The Union have had a 2-1 loss and a 2-0 win. The only game this season that they've kept a clean sheet is with that pairing. Then you've had Harriel, Elliott, Glesnes, Bizo. It's happened once, a 3-2 loss. Harriel, Lowe, Elliott, Bizo, once, 1-1 draw. Wagner, Lowe, Elliott, Harriel, 2-2 draw. Wagner, Elliott, Glesnes, Bizo, 3-1 win. Wagner, Lowe, Elliott, Glesnes, Harriel, 2-1 win down in Nashville. So 7 different pairings right there. And I know I just said Wagner, Elliott, Glesnes, Bizo, 3-1 win in Portland. And people are going to say, oh, well, that means you got to start Olivier Bizo again because, look, the Union only conceded 1 goal. They scored 3 goals. The offense was there. They conceded only 1 goal. But that's not the case whatsoever. This isn't 2022. Nate Harriel's taken such a massive jump for it the last 2 seasons where I talked about it last episode. It's going to be a huge miss when he goes away with the Olympics. And I don't know, this team, in my opinion, needs to seriously start considering a new right back for when Nate's away because Olivier Bizo, he's not it. And it's just interesting to me because I get it, right? Jim wants to rotate these guys, specifically the 3 center backs, because we saw what happened last season. He ran Jacob Glesnes into the ground, and then Jacob had to get surgery, and he missed the game against Cincinnati. And then there was talk, okay, well, if the Union make it to the Eastern Conference Final, could Glesnes potentially be back? And it's pushing it. And we saw Jacob get off to a slow start this season. He's had moments this year where he's looked really, really good. He's had moments where it's not looked so good. Damion Lowe's had moments this season where he's looked good. He's had moments where he's looked bad. Last night was, again, one of those games where he wasn't at his best. Jack Elliott's had games where he's good, where he's bad. I think out of all the center backs, actually, I think Jack Elliott's probably been the best. And just for numbers' sake, if you guys are curious too, out of the 6 defenders the Union have used this season, the minutes for them all just in MLS play coming into this match, Nate Harriel has the most minutes, 810 minutes played, 9 appearances, 9 starts. Kai Wagner in second with 777, 10 appearances, 8 starts. Jacob Glesnes, 714 minutes played, 8 appearances, 7 starts. Jack Elliott, 599 minutes played, 7 appearances, 7 starts. Damion Lowe, 546 minutes played, 7 appearances, 7 starts. Olivier Bizer, 211 minutes played, 4 appearances, 3 starts. And so, out of the 3 center backs, Jacob Glesnes has played by far the most amount of minutes. And you want to rotate? That's fine. But why? Why are we continuing to play Jacob Glesnes the most and then rotate between Elliott and Lowe? And if that continues to happen, you're going to have a serious issue once again with Jacob Glesnes. We've seen the pairing of Lowe and Elliott twice this season, a 1-1 draw and a 2-2 draw. We saw all 3 center backs play against Nashville, but mostly it's Jacob Glesnes. He's usually the center back starting either with Lowe or Elliott. Glesnes really isn't getting any breaks. And so I did ask Jim Curtin last night about, what went into the decision of, again, sitting Jack Elliott, and we'll play that here in a bit. But if we want to go ahead and analyze the goals, guys can check out the goals breakdown video on YouTube, youtube.com/freekickpod, if you guys want to see exactly what I'm talking about. But the first goal, you have Damion just completely ball watching. Doesn't react to the ball or Duncan McGuire. He just kind of zones out for a second. We've seen Olivier Bizo zone out multiple times. And I've said it before. I don't think these center backs are great. They're good, but they're not great. But let's go ahead and take it a step further and talk about this team, this group as a whole, not just the center backs. I really don't think 2022 helped with this group at all because they all hit their max at the same time, which is super duper rare when you have the whole team have a career year. Yeah, you might have a couple players have a career season, but not the whole team. And 2022 put unfair expectations on this team going forward just because we saw what they can do at their max. But the truth is, they would never hit their career best again. All of them, every single player. It just won't happen. And I know I've said the last 2 episodes that I think the Union could have one of the strongest 11s in the league. And I do believe that to be true. At least it is on paper. Because there really are good players on this team right now. As a team, they're not playing good. But individually, yeah, there's some really good players. If we analyze this team and look at who could walk in to the rest of the teams in MLS, I think Julian Kranza walks into every single team. I think Kai Wagner walks into every single team. I think Andre Blake walks into every single team. You could potentially make a case for Quinn Sullivan, potentially make a case for Jack McGlynn, and potentially make a case for Nate Harriel. But there's only 3 players that I'm convinced that walk into every single team in MLS. Wagner, Carranza, and Blake. Blake's been injured for most of the season. But when he's healthy, he's still one of the best goalkeepers in MLS. Julian Carranza, when he gets hot, doesn't need many opportunities to put the ball in the back of the net. And then Kai Wagner, for my money, he is the best left back still in MLS. And like I said, you can make a case for all 3 homegrowns and McGlynn, Nate Harriel, and Quinn Sullivan. Other than that, I don't think there's anybody on this team that walks into every single team. That's just the truth of the matter. And I think what you're seeing right now is the effects of missing on multiple transfer windows. I mean, how bad have some of these transfer windows been? And the Union are in a situation right now where they've got to make changes come the summertime. They've got to. There's no there's no other way around it. And I know every time the Union have made signings in the summer, Jim Curtin doesn't typically play those players. And you can't play those games this year. You know, if you want to truly make a run at MLS Cup once again, whatever players you bring in the summertime, you've got to play them. And I know Jim says, well, it takes them a while to learn the system, the style of play, getting acclimated to our team, to the weather, to the country. But you bet on running it back once more. You ran it back in 2023. We saw how that went. You ran it back again in 2024. You've got to make signings in the summertime. And you've got to play those players if you do sign players. And I'm not talking about just signing a Kevin Sullivan or a David Vasquez or an Andrew Rick to homegrown deals. I'm talking about legitimate players, players that have first team experience. And does it make you confident that the Union can find the right players this summertime where they have failed on multiple transfer windows? And that's why we're in this situation right now. Who, like legit, out of the last couple transfer windows, who's been a hit? We talked about it a couple episodes ago. Ernst Tanner hasn't had a good track record with signing strikers. He just hasn't. What midfielders have impressed you? You bring in Joaquin Torres to be the backup to Daniel Gazdag. And in my opinion, and I think I share the same opinion with a lot of you guys, you need a backup 10. And I know there's some of you out there that will argue, actually, we need a 10 that's going to create more than Daniel Gazdag. Because Daniel Gazdag isn't a traditional number 10. He's more of a second striker, a false 9, making late runs into the box. He's not creating. And I do believe the Union are able to get away with that because you have Kai Wagner creating, you have Jack McGlynn creating, but then Jack McGlynn's away with the Olympics in the summertime. And now you really only have Kai Wagner creating, and that's going to be more pressure on him. More players are going to double team Kai Wagner. And so I do think it is very important that this team goes out in the summertime and signs a starting caliber number 10. I'm not saying replace Daniel Gazdag, but push him for the minutes. You've got to push him for the minutes. You got to bring in somebody that's not afraid to take on players 1v1 that can play a threaded pass. You've got to bring in another striker. And again, I mentioned it. How confident are you guys that Ernst Tanner can finally hit on a striker? Hasn't with Ty Baribo. And to his credit, really hasn't got any opportunities in game. Chris Donovan, that was never going to be, yep, this is our savior, Chris Donovan, never going to be it. You spend the highest transfer fee ever in bringing in Mikal Ua, scores last night, great goal, good job. He's been inconsistent. And that's really the story with this team, with the front three, that is, with Gazdag, Ua, and Carranza. They're just so inconsistent. And I'm not asking for them to score every single game, but you'd like to see it a little bit more. And the only player that's been consistent out of the front three of the season has been Daniel Gazdag, continues to score. But they've got to do something. They've got to do something in the summer transfer window. Or if you don't, and you continue down this path, well, then it makes it a lot more easier for you to say, yep, we're going to go ahead and sell Jack McGlynn now. We're going to go ahead and sell Julian Carranza. But then you guys, the fans, that's not going to be good for you guys. You're going to be pissed at the team because they're throwing in the towel. That's ultimately what they're saying. If they sell Carranza, if they sell Jack McGlynn, yep, we're not going for it, guys. We're not good enough. If we make it in the 9th seed, if we make it in the 8th seed, then so be it. And I think a lot of you guys would be pissed if the Union did that. And I can't say that I blame you. But if the Union continued to go down this road, be in this form that they're in, makes it easier for them to say, yep, we're going to go ahead and sell these players. We don't have much to play for this season. And I know anything can happen come playoff time, but I don't know. I think it's a lot easier to convince ownership, yeah, we're going to struggle to make the playoffs this year. We're going to be one of the bottom teams. let's take the offers we get right now for these players and let's sell them and we'll see what happens. We'll roll the dice at it and see what happens come playoff time. And then in the winter, we'll reset it and bring in new players to replace the players we just sold. So, was running this team back the right decision? I don't know. I think there's some of you guys who say absolutely not. Some of you guys have been calling for it the last couple of years that they should not have ran it back after 2022, bring in fresh blood. That 2022, the way they lost MLS Cup was going to be hanging over this squad. That, yeah, bring in some new players in here, fresh ideas. I know I've made the argument before that these players at the beginning of the season just looked worn out because of how much they had been getting ran into the ground. So I'll be curious to see what the Union do come the summer transfer window, but they've got to do something. They've got to bring at least 2 players in my opinion. 2 game changers. We talked about that a couple episodes ago, how there's no game changers on the bench. Going back to the goals that the Union conceded, the second goal, the giveaway pass by Jose Martinez, it's inexcusable. 2 times now in the last 3 games. It's uncharacteristic from him. And when I was talking about what players in the starting lineup for the Union would walk into every other team, you can make a case last year, definitely 2022, that Jose Martinez is the best number 6 in MLS. But he's not been at his best this year. A lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, specifically the last 2 out of 3 games. It's not been good enough from him. The third goal, when Damion Lowe steps out of position to mark Martin Ojeda. And now there's a gap between Glesnes and Kai Wagner, and Luis Morial is in easily. It's just a simple mental lapse. Little mistakes that this team doesn't usually make. It's not like teams are scoring great goals. It's the mistakes the Union are making that are gifting these teams chances. And because of that, that gives you a little bit of hope. At least it gives me hope because these things should be correctable. It's not like teams are coming out here and breaking down the Union. It's because of mistakes by the Union. And if you get those mistakes corrected, if you can fix those mistakes, then everything should be fine, right? Maybe not, but this is what Jim Curtin said about the mistakes that this team just continues to make.
But we haven't played a complete game, and that's what's most frustrating. I'm not asking for the perfect game, and that's what I said all week this week. I don't ask too much of the guys. I know the perfect game in soccer doesn't really exist, right? But I do know that they're capable of a complete game, a complete 90 minutes. And right now, we let ourselves down for the key moments in front of goal. And that's uncharacteristic of us because it's literally the only thing we've done good over the last 5 years. We've been a team that has fought for everything, been hard to play against, didn't make mistakes. And right now, maybe it's contagious, but we make a lot of silly mistakes. And that's just not my opinion. I mean, you can go to whatever you like, expected goals, whatever you want to choose, data, the eyeballs, my opinion, your opinion. The mistakes we're making right now aren't what has made us a good team over the last few years, so we have to fix it.
Yeah, of course, they've got to fix it, but they haven't been able to. 0-3-1 in the last 4 games. Have lost 3 straight home games. It's mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. And again, I'll repeat myself what I said a minute ago. It's because it's simple mistakes they're missing, which gives you hope. If this team can continue to score, fix the mistakes, and whether that be a consistency issue, whether that be because you don't have Andre Blake in the net, which, by the way, I don't blame Oliver Zemler at all for the goals that he's conceding. I don't think Oliver's done anything wrong. He's making the saves that he needs to make. You're seeing inconsistency in the back line, which doesn't help. And it's just the lines are off. Players are out of position constantly. It's poor passes, poor giveaways. And you hope that the team can get that corrected. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. After 11 games, is it time to throw the towel in and just be in full panic mode? I don't think so. One thing that is so interesting to me, the Union are 7-1-3 in the second half when you're looking at goals for, goals against. So if we're just taking what's happened in the second half of games, the Union are up there with Inter Miami for the best team in MLS. But we know that the games aren't played in just one half. They're not played just in the second half. And it goes back to Jim's point that, I'm not asking for a complete 90 minutes, but he's asking for what he's seen better. If he can find a way to get what this team does in the second half in the first half, then they would be fine. 11 goals given up to the opponents to give them the lead, which is the second most in MLS. And 6 of those are at home, which is the most at MLS. The Union are the worst home team in the league. It's unbelievable. After dominating teams being afraid to play at Subaru Park. How many times do you guys mention to somebody a week? Well, if the Union would have played LAFC at home in MLS Cup, we guarantee that the Union would have been lifting the trophy. How many times do you tell people that a week? Once? Twice? Maybe you're not telling them it, but you're definitely thinking of it. But it's insane to me. Just seeing what this team does in the first half compared to the second half. Trailing at halftime, the Union have done that in 7 out of 11 games this season. It's the most in MLS, 1-3-3 record. And 4 out of 5 games played at Subaru Park so far this year, teams are leading at half, which is the most that any opposition has done away from home this season, 4 times. 4 different teams have came into Subaru Park this season and led. It's just uncharacteristic. And like I said a while ago, I just don't know really what to think. Something's seriously wrong with this group. And I'll continue to bring up 2022 because I think, I am to blame for, letting 2022 really dictate my thoughts on this team. And maybe a lot of us are because we saw magic in 2022. Just all these different records broken. It's smiling, happy-go-lucky after the stadium. People don't want to leave and go home. Everybody is just chatting. And look, we bring the applesauce back last night. And that's like the dark days when the Union would just give bread away or applesauce they've done in the past too when the Union haven't been so good. Now we're bringing out the cheap giveaways. The dark days have arrived. That's the Union signaling, oh, here we go again. We're going to go ahead and give out the applesauce. Then on Wednesday night, what are they going to do? Give out the bread again? Then next thing you know, they're going to bring in the chief tattoo officer. They're going to bring in the dump truck. I mean, oh, God, please no. Don't bring back those horrible times. You know who's to blame? You know what's to blame? Union Yards. Union have lost every single game since Union Yards has been open. Just board it up, close it down. It's been bad mojo. Can you imagine how much of a better place that would be to hang out at once the Union start winning? God, that place is going to be popping. Even more so after games. But I don't know. Maybe it doesn't happen because you have Union Yards open. And since it's been open, like I said, the Union haven't won a single game. Close it down. Burn the building. Board it up. I don't know. Do we blame Union Yards? I have a person we can blame. Blame Polemy. Because ever since she last brought her friends, Sarah, Kelly, and Heidi to a game, the Union won at home. They won against Minnesota United. Union also kept their only clean sheet of the season. They won 2-0. And now since they haven't been back, the Union keep losing. And so this is on Polemy for not bringing her friends to the games, right? She brings her friends, the Union win. So I think maybe we gotta all chip in and just get our friends free tickets into the stadium. Fly them out to all the away games because maybe they're the only reason the Union win is when they show up for matches. But something's seriously broken with this group. Something's seriously wrong. Like I told you guys, I asked Jim Curtin what went into the decision to start Damion Lowe over Jack Elliott. And this is what Jim Curtin had to say on that decision.
Look, I love Jack Elliott, and again, these are hard conversations, right? Because he's in great form. We also had Damion in good form and Jacob in good form. So yeah, when you concede as many goals as we have, you're trying to find the right blend, the right timing, the right matchups. It's different with Benteke, versus Maguire tonight. So we're trying to find the right balance. I talked to them and told them that is a position we can rotate in, and they'd each probably play 2 out of the next 3 games. So Jack's still a guy, trust me, that was in good form and was playing well. Decision went against him tonight, but it was also in mind for him to play and start against New York City. So nothing against Jack at all, just a decision that went against him.
And Jim Curtin admitted it, like literally right there. Jack Elliott, when he's played, has been playing good. He's in good form. So why are we benching him? Why are we making the decision to rotate between Jack Elliott and Damion Lowe? Why can't we play the partnership of Jack Elliott and Damion Lowe and rest Jacob Glesnes? It makes no sense to me. Jack Elliott's been your best center back this season, and you're going to bench him. And I get matchups and everything like that. You try to get too fancy, too cute with it. And yes, you do have those 3 center backs you can rotate. But again, look what happened with Jacob Glesnes when you didn't rotate him. He got hurt. I gave you guys the numbers prior to this game. Jacob Glesnes has played the most minutes out of every single center back. 714 minutes. 599 for Elliott and 546 for Damion Lowe. So who did we see on Wednesday? Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott? In my opinion, that is the best, the absolute best partnership. But, we're not the coaches. It's for the coaches to decide who they want to start. Can only ask about why Jack Elliott isn't starting so many times, and you continue to get the same answer. But I want to play that and give you guys Jim Curtin's thoughts why Jack Elliott was the one that sat last night. And how about Ty Rebo? Finally gets to come in. Jim Curtin praised him on Friday, said that he had a good week of training, and so if the moment's right that we could potentially see him get some minutes. And yeah, we saw him get some minutes at the dying embers of the game, which feels a little bit harsh. What can you do in 5-6 minutes or however long he played where you're chasing a goal? Not much. Orlando's going to park that bus, play a super low block. Those spaces, the half spaces, are going to be really hard for him to get into. And so I don't blame Ty Rebo for going in last night for his performance. I don't blame him whatsoever. What was he supposed to do? Yeah, somebody's going to say, score a goal. I don't know. It's hard when you're throwing out just so many forward players. A Hail Mary. You're going for it. You saw the Union had a corner kick the last play of the game, and I don't know if it showed on the broadcast, but in the game you saw Jim Curtin trying to get Oliver's attention, saying, go up for the corner kick. Throw another body in there. It doesn't matter if we don't score this and we get countered. It doesn't matter. We got to throw bodies forward. And the Union actually get a chance with Nate Harriel. He's the last one to get a header on it. And it's crazy. The last kick of the game, the Union had a chance to tie the game up. Again, it goes back to how bad Orlando City really is. You should not have lost to this team. But to Orlando's credit, the opportunities they were given, the mistakes that the Union had, Orlando City capitalized, and some really, really good goals from them. So let's go ahead and talk about the 3 stars on the night. For me, number 3, Jack McGlynn, 2 chances created, 23 passes into the final third, 3 out of 3 accurate crosses, 9 out of 16 accurate long balls, 1 out of 1 tackles won, 5 ball recoveries, 3 out of 4 ground duels won. And by the way, before I talk about Jack McGlynn any further, Jack McGlynn's mom and Jack McGlynn's grandma, I think his mom said they call him Nan, they were at the game last night. Lovely people. Really, really lovely to chat with. Super nice people. So I enjoyed talking with Jack's mom and saying hey to his grandma. But Jack McGlynn was fantastic, one of the Union's best players, continues to create chances for this team. And what's impressive to me is the 23 passes into the final third. This is a player who's never thinking sideways, backwards. He's always thinking attack, 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 always creating chances. And again, it goes to my point where you're going to miss him for the Olympics. And now you only have Kai Wagner creating chances for you. You're screwed if you don't bring in another creative player. Because if Quinn Sullivan goes too, now you're out your creative player on the right-hand side. It's going to be tough, very, very tough for the Union in the summer, especially if they continue not to pick up points before everybody's gone. I'm going to keep repeating it. 2 on the night, Mikel Ua, 1 goal, 2 out of 4 shots on target, 1 chance created, 10 touches into the opposition's box, which I think is very important. The type of striker that Mikel is, yes, he's a striker that's going to stretch the back line. You want him to get in behind the defense. But I also think that, the Union need to play to him more when he's inside the 18-yard box. Let him hold the play up. And Mikel, 4 chances last night, 2 of those shots were on target. A really good, positive performance from him. A big performance. A performance that he needed to have with Julian suspended. I said that earlier, and I know I just repeated myself. But Mikel Ua, you hope that he can continue that performance. Julian's obviously going to come into the lineup against New York City. You'd imagine Mikel's once again going to get the start. Played 90 minutes in this game, but should be good to get the start again. Jim Curtin talked at the beginning of the season saying it was the best shape that Mikel's came into. We know he sat the bench against DC United because of his form. So I don't think, a fitness issue should be a concern for Mikel starting on Wednesday. But you hope now, with Julian coming back in that lineup, Mikel can continue to make those hard runs into the box, get involved inside the opposition's 18-yard box. And if that happens, okay, maybe the Union will beat New York City 3-2. Maybe they'll start just winning games by outscoring their opponents. 4-3 games would be so crazy to see that. But Mikel, second star of the night. And then number 1, Nate Harriel. 1 assist, 4 chances created, 1 penalty, 1 out of 3 tackles, 1, 2 interceptions, 5 ball recoveries, 4 out of 6 ground duels, 1. Nate Harriel had a fantastic performance, and I asked Jim Curtin after the game what he thought of Nate's performance in a game that didn't have many positives, and this is what Jim had to say.
He did a good job. He got in the box, was dangerous. He drew the PK as well at the end. So he was very lively. He's getting better and better. He's a good young player. And that's the thing, guys. You can go through the names, and there's a lot of guys having really good individual seasons. But we need a team performance to get a win. And then all of a sudden, the individual stuff takes care of itself. So, we still have a really strong group. Like I said, we have some guys playing well, but we just have to cut out the mistakes.
Nate, in my opinion, been the Union's best player so far this season, continues to impress. And I remember talking to some people a couple years ago, and I was like, yeah, I think Nate Harriel's going to be a solid player. I think he's going to be a MLS lifer, but the strides we saw him take last season from 2022, and now he's taking a step further in 2024 from 2023. It wouldn't surprise me to see Nate in Europe in 2 years, honestly. Just because he's the Union's best 1v1 defender. He's so good defensively. Attacking wise, 4 chances created this game. Like I said, 1 assist. 1 a penalty for the Union too. He continues to be a threat going forward on the right-hand side for the Union. And now you have the full package fullback, a good attacker and a good defender. And that's what teams love. They love fullbacks that can attack. But then you get a fullback that doesn't mind doing the defensive side of things. Yeah, now you got yourself a very, very, very good player. And so I think Nate continues to impress. Going to be a huge loss for this team when he's away at the Olympics. But look, that's something that he should be proud of. going away, representing his country at the Olympics, it's a big deal. And no, like I said, if I'm the Union, I'm finding a new right back because I don't know how much more you guys can witness Olivier Bizot starting. But those are my 3 stars on the night. Let's go ahead and talk about Blunder of the Week. And I'm actually going to give Blunder of the Week to myself. And not to expose myself that much, I could have potentially played the audio if you guys wanted me to. I don't even know actually if the audio picked it up. But so last night when I was called on by Erica to ask Jim the next question, I always say, "Hey, Jim." I always start my sentences off by saying, "Hey, Jim." It's just what I say. And for whatever reason, I started it off saying, "Hey, John."
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, not good at all. Like, what am I doing? So I was like, oh, God, Jim's going to kill me. I'm going to get roasted. Like, why would I call him John? Makes no sense whatsoever. Like, I'm pretty sure he heard me say it, but maybe he didn't. Like, that would be fantastic if he didn't. But now he definitely knows that I called him John because I'm exposing myself. But yes. If I can go ahead and give Kyle Omni Blunder of the Week, if I can give other people Blunder of the Week, I can also give myself Blunder of the Week. And that was definitely a huge blunder, a silly little simple mistake. Look, if the Union can make mistakes, I can make mistakes. There's my out. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod, wherever you get your podcasts of The Free Kick. The Substack website, thefreekick.substack.com. And like I said earlier, guys, we'll have a review episode out for New York City one Friday. I'll try not to make that episode as long as this one is. But I don't know. It all depends on what happens in that game. But getting closer and closer to 300 episodes, and I'm super excited about that milestone. And thank you guys for all of you guys who just continue to listen week in, week out, continue to share the podcast, check out all the work that I'm doing. It means the world that you guys appreciate everything that I do. But with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.